Hey guys, so we're going to do some more reading on the Bhagavad Gita for awakening. Last time we left off on the field of Dharma. So now we're on number 3, taking stock. So let's go ahead and get started from the top here. Part 3 of the Bhagavad Gita for awakening. Then seeing Dhritarashtra's ranks drawn up in battle array for the forthcoming clash of weapons, Arjuna took up his bow and said unto Krishna, O Lord of the earth, drive my chariot to stand in the midst between the two armies, until I can behold these battle-hungry men arrayed here with whom I must fight in this conflict. I would behold those who are blunt to give battle, having assembled here wishing to do service in warfare for the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Thus addressed by Arjuna, Krishna brought the chief chariot to stand in the midst of the two armies. Thus facing Bhishma, Drona, and all the rulers of the earth, Krishna said, Behold, Arjuna, these Kurus assembled here. Okay. Let's see. Authentic traditional yoga is very serious and circumspect. And the intelligent yogi believes in the old adage, look before you leap. Jesus put it this way, which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first, and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Lest haply, after he hath laid the foundation, and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, This man began to build, and was not able to finish. Or what king, going to make war against another king, sitteth not down first, and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? And that's from Luke chapter 14, verses 28 to 31. Vyasa felt the same way. Okay. So let's see. Vyasa felt the same way. There is an interesting detail here. Sanjaya, the narrator of the Gita, calls Dhritarashtra Lord of the Earth. And Arjuna gives Krishna the same title, at least in the English translation. But in Sanskrit, two different words are used. Sanjaya calls Dhritarashtra Prithivipati, Lord of the earth, of Prithvi, the earth element, the principle of non-sentient material existence. Krishna, though, is called Mahipate, Lord of the earth, Mahi, in the sense of the intelligent world of sentient beings. Interesting. It is the difference between marble and a marble statue. One is mere matter, the other an expression of intelligence and artistry, even genius. What Arjuna saw. Arjuna saw standing there fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, as well as friends, father-in-laws, and companions in the two armies. In both of them he saw all who were relatives arrayed. Then, filled with profound pity, desponding, he said, O Krishna, seeing my own people standing near, desiring to fight, my limbs sink down, my mouth dries up, my body trembles, and my hair stands on end. My bow drops from my hand, my skin is burning, I am unable to stand, my mind is reeling. Inauspicious omens I mark, and not good fortune do I foresee. if I should kill my own kinsmen in war? I do not desire victory nor kingship and pleasures. What is kingship to us? What are enjoyments or even life? Those whose sake we should desire kingship, enjoyments, and pleasures are arrayed in battle, abandoning their lives and their riches. Teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-laws, grandsons, brother-in-laws, and other kinsmen too. I do not desire to kill them who are about to kill, not even for the sovereignty of the three worlds. How then for the earth? What pleasure could the striking down of Dhritarashtra's sons be to us? Having killed these aggressors, evil would thus cling to us. That's pretty powerful. And it makes sense. Yeah. Because it's like, you can't fight evil with evil. Two wrongs don't make a right. Revenge is just another form of evil, but you think that it's justified. It's almost like a trick. And it's so easy to fall for. It's so easy to fall into that. Therefore, we are not justified to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, our own kinsmen. Indeed, having killed our own people, how could we be happy? Even if those whose thoughts are overpowered by greed do not see the wrong caused by the destruction of the family and the crime of treachery to friends, why should we not know to turn back from this evil through discernment of the evil caused by the destruction of the family? Oh, that's even more powerful. In the destruction of the family, the long-established family dharmas perish. When dharma perishes, adharma predominates in the entire family. From overpowering by adharma, the women of the family are corrupted. When the women are corrupted, the intermixture of caste is born. Intermixture brings to hell the family destroyers and the family too. Indeed, their ancestors fall from heaven back to earthly rebirth, deprived of offerings of rice and water. By these wrongs of the family's destroyers, producing intermixture of caste dharmas and long-established family dharmas are obliterated. Those whose family dharmas have been obliterated dwell indefinitely in hell. Thus have we heard repeatedly. Alas, we are resolved to do great evil with our greed for royal pleasures, intent on killing our own people. If the armed sons of Dhritarashtra should kill me in battle, unresisting and unarmed, this would be a greater happiness for me. Thus, having spoken, Arjuna, in the battle which had already begun, sat down upon the chariot seat, throwing down both arrow and bow, with a heart overcome by sorrow. Wow, that's really deep, actually. That is such profound description of the depth of consequences and yeah. Just really thinking about it, it hits. Faint-heartedness. This is long, but needs no comment. We will be considering the subject of caste and caste mixture later. I think I'm pronouncing that correct. All we need understand is the great upset of Arjuna. It is the symbolism that matters. As already said, when we take stock of the inner conflict, we identify with both sides, thinking that if they are dissolved or destroyed, a part of us will cease to exist. We are appalled and feel that our very existence is threatened. Then, like all human beings who do not like the truth when they see or hear it, we become confused and try to avoid the unpleasant prospect. Bitter as death seems the inner battle, so we shrink from it and desperately try to find a way out. So does Arjuna. In a lengthy and impassioned monologue, he has presented to Krishna what is really a plea to inaction, to avoidance of conflict, thinking that such a negative condition is peace, whereas peace is a positive state, not the mere absence of unrest and conflict. It is also reached only through unrest and conflict, however little we like the fact. Running away from spiritual obligation and therefore spiritual life itself, the awakening soul on occasion brings all its ingenuity to bear on justification of such avoidance. Arjuna veils his aversion with words of compassion for others, when in actuality, he is the sole object of his dishonest compassion. Dang. Oh, this is good. He simply does not wish to see others suffer because that will make him suffer and feel guilty for their suffering. Krishna makes this clear to him. The Stoic, the Epictetus, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrect, was once visited by a man who told him that he loved his daughter so much he had run from the house rather than see her suffering from illness. Carefully, gently, yet firmly, Epictetus led him to understand that it was his self-love that motivated him, not love for his child. Yeah. That's really like deep. Because yeah, it's like, oh, I don't want to go into it. Okay. It is the same with us. Ego involvement, addiction actually grips us, and we are the only ones who can free ourselves from it. And battle is the only means. Krishna's response. Sanjaya said, to him who was thus overcome by pity, whose eyes were filled with tears, downcast and despairing, Krishna spoke these words. The Holy Lord said, whence has come this faint-heartedness of yours in the time of danger, ignoble, not leading to heaven, but to disgrace? At no time should you entertain such cowardice. It is unsuitable in you. Abandon this base faint-heartedness and stand up. Arjuna said, how can I in battle fight with arrows against Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of reverence? Better that I eat the food of beggary in this world instead of my slaying these great and noble gurus. If I should kill them, desirous for grain and truth here on earth, I would enjoy pleasures stained with blood. We know not which is preferable, whether we should conquer them or they should conquer us. The sons of Dhritarashtra stand facing us. After slaying whom we would not wish to live, weakness and pity overcome my being. With mind in confusion as to my duty, I supplicate you, beyond doubt, tell me which is preferable. I am your disciple. Do you direct me? Truly, I see nothing that can remove this sorrow that dries up my senses. Though I should attain on earth unrivaled and prosperous dominion, or even the sovereignty of the gods. Sanjaya said, thus having addressed Krishna, Arjuna said, I shall not fight, and became totally silent. Hopefully we all sympathize with Arjuna and see his perspective, which certainly seems to be that of Dharma. Nevertheless, note that Arjuna at the end of his words asks Krishna to remove his error, if such it is. This shows his humility in contrast to the arrogance and swaggering of Duryodhana. Therefore, he merits the alleviation he pleads for. Even the wisest are conscious that they can be wrong. Ugh. Dang, that was a good one. Got me like tearing up, obviously, as you can see. So the next one is the smile of Krishna. Let's go ahead and look into that one. Part 4 of the Bhagavad Gita for awakening. Arjuna, overcome with anguish at the prospect of killing in battle those he loved and was obligated to respect, presented to Krishna his reasons for refusing to fight. Hearing Arjuna's words, to him who thus was despondent in the midst of the two armies smiling, Krishna spoke these words. The smile of Krishna is extremely significant, and we must be grateful to the sage Vyasa for including this detail that carries a momentous message. Why did Krishna smile, considering how grief-filled Arjuna was, and how impassioned he had been in his insistence that to fight would be the greatest of evils, in contradiction to the urging and advice of Krishna? Arjuna was both sad and rebellious, yet Krishna smiled. The word in the Gita is prahasan, which means to smile before laughing. Sargent renders it beginning to laugh. So it is not some weak smile, nor a condescending or sarcastic grimace, but a very positive sign of impending mirth. How is this? Krishna smiled for several reasons, and here's a list of them. Number 1, he was showing to Arjuna that he was not condemning him, that his words had in no way offended or angered him, that he could feel confident of Krishna's love and regard for him. Number 2, he was showing to Arjuna that he understood his feelings and his reasoning. Number 3, he was showing to Arjuna that all our little teapot tempests that we exaggerate and make into life and earth-shattering concerns and agonies are nothing to cause confusion, anxiety, anger, or grief, but rather are fever dreams that will vanish the moment we rise to higher consciousness and behold them with the perspective of the divine spirit that is our true nature. This reminds me of an incident in the life of Sri Anandamayi Ma. A man came to see her, overwhelmed with grief at the recent death of his wife. Ma will understand my suffering, he said to himself. She will realize the extent of my sorrow. But the moment he entered the room, Ma began laughing merrily, looking at him all the while. Ma, he protested, seeing how unhappy I am, how can you laugh like that? Baba, Ma replied, there is now one less obstacle between you and God. I have witnessed similar incidents with Ma in which her laughter instantly healed the sorrow or anxiety of those who came to her for sympathy. Krishna is going to dispel the sadness and bewilderment of Arjuna in the same way. Number 4, he was showing Arjuna that his words meant nothing, that he was going to fight anyway, because Arjuna's Kshatriya nature would impel him to do so, whatever he might think he thought. Further, in Krishna's perspective, the battle was over and done. There was no question as to Arjuna's participation or the outcome. These have already been struck down by me. Be merely an instrument. Only those already killed by me do you kill. Do not hesitate. Number 5, he was showing Arjuna that nothing can change the state of divine consciousness, that the myth of a pleased or displeased God is a foolish fable. God is always God, and we are always ourselves. That is how God sees it, and so should we. Nothing we can say, think, or do can possibly change God in any way. If God could be angered or gladdened by us, he would be as ignorant, changeable, and subject to suffering as we are. In fact, we would have more control over him than he has over us, as we are continually ignoring him and being indifferent to him. Our changeability is a myth too. For all change takes place only in the delusive wrappings, Prakriti Shakti, of our unchanging spirit, Atma Purusha, or Purusha. Therefore, no matter what we think we do, God knows we have done nothing. Swami Prabhavananda's very interpretive translation says it very well. You dream you are the doer. You dream that action is done. You dream that action bears fruit. It is your ignorance. It is the world's delusion that gives you these dreams. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verse 14. Whatever our foolish antics, God smiles, knowing our eternal destiny within him. So, and then the next section is called Right But Wrong. Smiling, Lord Krishna says an unexpected thing to Arjuna in response to his fervent disquisition on how he both should not and could not engage in battle on the field of Kurukshetra. The Holy Lord said, "You have been mourning for those who should not be mourned for, though you speak words of wisdom. The wise mourn neither the living or the dead." When I was a novice in a Greek Orthodox monastery, which placed great emphasis on the mystical approach to Christianity and on meditation, Hestia particularly, one of the prime inspirations was Saint Gregory Palamas, a great mystic and author on the subject of interior prayer. When looking through the original Greek texts of the collection of spiritual writings known as the Philokalia, I came across a writing of St. Gregory that had some diagrams. Not knowing any but the most elementary Greek, little more than the alphabet, I took the volume to a Greek-speaking monk and asked what the article was about. To my amazement, he told me that it was an explanation of how the world was flat and how completely irrational and baseless it was to say the world was spherical. Why such a subject would be treated in a collection of mystical writings was not explained to me. Now, St. Gregory possessed a brilliant intellect, and his arguments were thoroughly logical, but he was wrong. Just because you're wrong on some things doesn't, there's no such thing as perfect is what I'm getting from this lesson here, right? It's like someone could be a very profound like historical figure and just oozing with wisdom and knowledge and all that stuff. But then there's going to be some areas where it's like, what the heck? Because it just kind of shows the humanity that's just there within all of us, whether we like it or not. It just is. Later on, I decided to read the complete writings of St. Gregory of Nyssa, one of the greatest mystics of the early Christian church. I was not disappointed, for his words are truly inspired and his insights invaluable. But then I came up against a real surprise. His brother, St. Basil the Great, gave a series of discourses on the days of creation, but died before he could give the final sermon. So St. Gregory decided to complete the work by writing an article on the final day of creation. In the article, he discusses the human anatomy and for some reason presents a lengthy and complicated explanation of why and how human beings sneeze. That's funny. The explanation is ingenious and equally erroneous, not to say genuinely funny. Again, the words were very logical, quite reasonable, but utterly mistaken to the point of silliness. And in both instances, both the Gregory's sincerity and conviction counted for absolutely nothing. Wrong is wrong. One of the funniest wrongs of a spiritual figure was the outlawing of hurdy-gurdies by one of the popes in the Middle Ages. This was based on the fact that the hurdy-gurdy was the instrument played by wandering beggars, and wherever the beggars went, the plague broke out. Not knowing about germs, the Pope concluded that hurdy-gurdy music caused the plague. or reason led to folly. That's pretty funny and odd. Millennia before the Gregories, Arjuna looked out at the battlefield and seeing those he loved and even revered, was overwhelmed with the enormity of killing. I completely lost my spot. Life of motherhood. This is what being a mom is all about. You gotta split up your time, and that's just how it goes. Okay. I lost my spot though completely though. So okay. So millennia before the Gregories, Arjuna looked out at the battlefield, seeing those he loved and even revered, was overwhelmed with the enormity of killing them, and expressed his feelings to Krishna, as we have just seen in the previous article. Krishna's reaction to this impassioned speech was to smile and say, "Your words are wise, Arjuna, but you are wrong." He then explained very fully just why Arjuna's conclusions were mistaken, and we will be looking at his explanations later. But for now, it will be beneficial for us to pursue this matter of being wrong, even when we seem to be right. The fundamental problem is the character of the mind itself. Yeah, it's always the mind. We can trick ourselves very easily. So it is intended as a link between the witness consciousness, that is our pure spirit, and the outer world, that is really only a dream in the mind of God and our minds, for we are co-dreamers with God, dreamers within the great dream of creation and evolution. God and his creation are a bit like Moliere and his plays. Backstage, he wrote out in large scripts the basics of the plot, and the actors went on stage and improvised their lines and actions within Moliere's parameters. After many performances, the words were written down, and Moliere has received all the credit for their improvisation. In the same way, God has set the boundaries, and the basic scenario of evolution is consciousness. We then ad-lib our way through the whole thing until we develop the good sense to listen to those who have already trodden the way and given instructions on the right way to go about it. Part of this good sense is the awareness that we rarely know what we are doing or see anything correctly or fully. For that is the nature of the mind, distortion and incompleteness. Yet the mind is part of our equipment for evolution. So what shall we do? Clarify and correct it. Put Humpty Dumpty together. And that can be done by meditation. For Krishna is going to tell Arjuna, the yoga-yoked sage quickly attains Brahman, and he should practice yoga for the purpose of self-purification. In the purity of mind produced by meditation, intuition comes to the fore, replacing discursive and consequently tangled thought, thus making the mind an instrument of perception rather than an interference in perception. For our thoughts are mostly static and distortion. In time, through the effect of meditation, we no longer think we know. Therefore, with mind made steadfast by yoga, which turns not to anything else, to the divine supreme spirit he goes, meditating on him. The next one is number 5, birth and death, the great illusions.